Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. We caught up earlier today with Trevor Walker. He's the CEO of Frontier Lithium. They're listed on the TSXV and they're producing high-grade, low-impurity lithium in Canada. We talk about the full integrated model which they're building out, some of their PEA, which was rather impressive, and also their plans for this year. They're running slightly behind their peers in terms of timing, but as far as they're concerned, they're getting that timing perfectly right. So if you want our thoughts on that conversation, some of the topics we discussed, and indeed the company itself, you can find that at cruxinvestor.com/club, along with some backdated interviews that we've done with them. You can also find company reports and detailed analysis on there, which you might find useful. There are summaries of interviews that we've done to save you some time, training courses to help you with your own diligence process, and commentary from experts from around the world on a variety of companies and commodities, such as lithium, but also nickel, copper, etc. if you're into EV. And you might like to join a thriving community of investors sharing their thoughts and ideas with each other in a nice, friendly, safe environment, free from trolling and abuse. And if that does sound nice to you, go and join them at cruxinvestor.com/club. And of course, we'd love your feedback too. So do give us a like, it'd be appreciated. Leave your comments below. We'll get back to absolutely everyone. And if you want to see precisely what we talked about today, do take a look in the description below. Trevor, how have you been?
I'm fantastic, Matt. Thanks very much. How are you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. Haven't spoken to you, I think end of October, beginning of November it was.
Time's flying.
Flying.
It's incredible how quickly time has gone by since then.
I don't know, but I haven't got 3 young boys, if I remember correctly. You have. Must have been a tough Christmas.
Well, we're keeping busy. We're lucky to have some cool weather and some snow on the ground at home. So lots of hockey in the backyard and kept the wood-fired sauna running constantly, or hot tub rather. Lots of skiing, backyard skiing essentially. So we had a good time taking advantage of COVID while it is here. So
sounds good. That sounds good.
It's long in the tooth now, but it looks like things are starting to open up. So.
I was one of 3 boys myself, and the back door was opened. We were kicked out. We went feral. It's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Hey, well, good to see you. It's been a fantastic 3 months since we spoke. You quadrupled in share price. In fact, you went a little bit higher than that at one point. So I'm really keen to catch up. Sounds like you've been doing something right. Do you want to kick off first and give us that 1-minute overview, though, and then we'll pick up on all those points?
Yeah, sure. Frontier Lithium is a company that's a junior mining company. Taking steps into the early development stages. The company's really positioned well with a high quality, large lithium resource located in Northern Ontario. The company's focused and committed to build out lithium chemical production with a focus on lithium hydroxide. So really chemical required to make the best furthest range batteries that are essential for this transition. It's great. The market has moved since we last spoke, and the market's believing that the OEMs are serious and the auto manufacturers are serious, and there is a transition now taking place. So we're really, really excited. Starting to feel good about all the grind and hard work over the last several years with not a love in the market. So,
well, timing is absolutely everything, Trevor. It's always about timing. I think a lot of the EV metals are seeing the love at the moment, but you've also done a bit of hard work yourself, so it's not entirely market driven. You told me last time you were going to deliver a PEA and do some test work on the chemicals. So I saw the PEA. Why don't you start with that? What happened?
So we put out a PEA, and the PEA was looking at a fully integrated project. So what that essentially means is building a mine, building a processing facility, a concentrator on site, and also then building a downstream chemical plant to take the feedstock concentrate from the mine and mill to convert and produce lithium hydroxide. Battery grade lithium hydroxide. So we put that out very recently. Some quick numbers. The goal of the mine site and mill is to produce roughly 160,000 tons of concentrate a year. The concentrate, of course, then is shipped to a chemical plant, as we spoke of. The cash costs of producing concentrate and have it delivered to a chemical plant around $313 per ton, and essentially have an output of roughly 23,000 tons of hydroxide a year. Those kind of numbers, they support an EBITDA of approximately $225 million US per year. And essentially, you know, when you take that kind of scale and that size of operation, based on the high quality that we have and grades, it gives us some comfort that we can have essentially a post-tax just shy of $1 billion US project, NPV. That's an IRR of roughly 21%. So for PEA level, that gives us a lot of confidence. We're conservative by nature here at Frontier. We see a lot of room for improvement for next step PFS, which is already underway. So we're really excited about that, and we see the potential to start getting shovels in the ground roughly 2024. So very exciting. We think big picture, our timing is really good in the market. So
okay,
what a huge opportunity.
Yeah, huge opportunity, huge NPV as well. NPV 8, giving 21% post-tax IRR. That's always good. Let's talk about some of the underlying factors as to why you think you're going to be able to achieve that. I'm going to look at the two main projects, which is PAC and Spark. Okay, so PAC with about 2%. Grade, which is obviously very good. Even Spark was just about 1.6. Grade is one component of this, but it's the impurity levels as well, I think really helps. So tell us where you think you are in terms of grade, and then what the difference being the impurity levels that you're seeing at your projects. What's that doing for you?
Yeah, no, great question. Kind of work backwards on that. A couple analysts now are referring to us as, you know, top 3 in the world for low impurity levels, high quality aspect, and having as well that check mark around large size or large tonnage. So grade is king. So yes, it is about the impurity levels, but it is important to look at high grade assets because there's a very strong correlation statistically with regards to grade and low impurity levels. So grade is king. In our business, we say that, in our company, we say that width is queen. So those two things go hand in hand. Why width is important with that grade is just when you get into mining, if you have a really narrow ore body, then the ability to dilute and have terrible recoveries is when you're dealing with narrow widths. So on our project on PAC, we have a true average width of roughly 45, 50 meters. Spark, there's 2 zones of 100 meters plus in Spark, where most of the tonnage or volume is on our resource. So it's really critical. Quality really does matter. You know, from a pure economic standpoint, when you look at producing lithium hydroxide, the cost of your feedstock concentrate is roughly 60% of your total chemical costs. So can't stress enough that you need the right resource, because if you don't have that right, you'll never have the ability to make a chemical that can be used by one of the OEMs.
Okay, well let's talk about what you're trying to do, Trevor. You're taking a chemical grade spodumene concentrate and then converting that into lithium hydroxide, right? That's the process that you're going through, and that's about. There's a technical success you're going to need to be able to do that. So can you technically do that? And then can you do it economically, right? So what do you now know from when we last spoke about your ability to perhaps do that?
Yeah, very recently, we have shown with one of our technology partners, XPS, which is a subsidiary of Glencore, we are producing on life of mine samples highest quality concentrates in the world that are comparable really to Albemarle's from the Greenbushes deposit, which is really the premier lithium deposit in the world. It's a hard rock asset, very similar to ours. So some have referenced our resource as the Greenbushes of North America. So we have taken very recently, and since we last spoke, we've taken some representative concentrates from our resource, and we have just fired up about a month ago a mini pilot plant to take those concentrates and convert them through both pyrometallurgical and hydrometallurgical processes to produce a really clean solution that then can undergo ion exchange and final crystallization. So of course we're focused on battery quality, but again, we because of the low impurities of our asset, if there is a resource that has the theoretical highest potential to produce battery grade hydroxide, it's again looking at a resource that produces or has the ability to produce cleanest concentrates in the world, comparable to the top three. So that has taken place. Of course, that test work on the mini pilot is to support next step PFS for the fully integrated. Just to take a step back a little bit, the PEA is also producing what we call technical grade spodumene concentrate, and it's 7.2%. It's so clean. It's coming from the PAC deposit, which is referenced as a technical grade deposit. What distinguishes that is basically a low inherent iron in the lattice of the spodumene. Spodumene is the mineral that carries the lithium. That level is less than 0.15% iron oxide, so total iron. So the PEA also has an output of roughly 20,000 tons a year of technical grade concentrate. And again, it's so clean, it could be used direct in the furnaces for the top glass makers in the world. For example, Schatz out of Germany, Saint-Gobain out of France, or Corning out of the US. So that's a real important highlight, because it reinforces the fact that we have low impurities, real high quality spodumene. We've done previous test work through samples that have been sent and qualified by some of the premier glass makers in the world. So
okay, but just before we get
really a critical point.
Before we get to it's an important point in terms of potential revenues down the line, but it's kind of, I just want to stick with the EV component, because the hardened glass thing, I get it, big market, phones, etc. It's all good, but with regards to the claim of being the Greenbushes of the North, as it were, because of green, but that's quite a big claim, right? Because the scale of that deal, the IGO deal with Greenbushes, is phenomenal, multi-billion-dollar deal. What precisely allows you to say that? Is it not just the quality, I guess the similarities between what you've got there, but have you got it with scale too? Have you got it with the economics?
Yeah, so 4 discoveries on our project. We have a land position of about 65 kilometers long, which is on an area referenced as the Electric Avenue. It's a new premier spodumene jurisdiction here in North America. It was discovered in the late 90s by the Ontario government. So there's been 4 discoveries, 2 of which have been a main focus. Firstly is the PAC deposit, which is roughly 10 million tons under all categories. Most of that is measured and indicated. That deposit is, as you pointed out, over 2% lithium oxide. That's the highest grade deposit in North America. About 2.3 kilometers up the fault zone from PAC lies the Spark deposit, and it is a deposit around 20 million tons. About 80% of that is at an inferred level, 20% measured and indicated level rather. That deposit is at surface about 2 to 3 times the size of PAC. We're not. We have more work to distinguish or come to the realization of if it is technical grade as well, but it is has really low impurities, low iron as well. It's open in all directions. We have some work to do to bring that inferred category up to a higher level of confidence. Right now, as we speak, there's a drill turning on the property that is really focused on a couple things, but the most important is obviously the infill drilling to bring the level of confidence up on Spark. That program is going very well. We have also are doing some geotechnical drilling just for ground stability for PFS level, and also some hydro-G work just to assess basically and understand to a better degree the water table in the area. So this is all essential work to bring that, to take that next step, bring the level of confidence up again to support PFS. About 30 kilometers or in between actually those two deposits, and since we have spoke, we've made another discovery called the Bolt. It has a showing at the surface of around 600 meters long. It's right between PAC and Spark. We have done just some initial sampling widths up to 30 meters wide, and it's showing very similar grades to the Spark. So it's really painting a picture. You know, these two deposits and showing are in such close proximity. You know, any layman would look at that and say these things are connected. We don't have the information to support that, but again, that's really a Greenbushes reference again in the making. You just don't find these kinds of tonnage, 30 million tons plus that are still open, and such low impurity and high grades. This is a premier project in the making for sure. 30 kilometers up the unexplored fault zone and on our project on the Electric Avenue is a historic showing of spodumene. It's about there's a blowout of 20 meters wide, about 30, 40 meters long. We really haven't done any work other than a quick channel sample across it. It's 2.5% lithium oxide. It's the cleanest spodumene on the entire project. The iron levels are below detection. So it's really high quality material. There's a lot of work to be done. Again, our project is unexplored. So the upside potential is just massive on our project. So, you know, we've crossed that line now, and people are really comfortable with the scale opportunity for the project. So there's enough lithium on the ground to support what we carried on the PEA of an output of roughly 23,000 tons of hydroxide. The potential to scale that up is, I consider, quite high.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's come back to this good technical component. So you've done all this kind of test work on the chemicals, which is great. You've got a pilot plant operating, right? So that's got to be who are you testing this for yourselves, or are you starting to talk to some of those OEM automotive manufacturers just to the south of you over the border?
Well, the first one's always yourself, because at the end of the day, you know, you've got to be able to deliver a high quality product and look at someone in the eye. There's so many unknowns and risks associated in this business. So for sure, we got to satisfy, you know, our own QA, QC and our own comfort level. But ultimately, our desire here with the mini pilot is to produce some battery quality hydroxide so that we can really engage, you know, with white powder on the table, essentially of high quality with OEMs. So it would be a combination of, you know, those OEMs that have the desire to produce their own skateboards or essentially batteries on wheels, or other companies that would produce foremost cathode material for batteries for OEMs. So all of the above.
Right. But give us more of a sense of the timing of this, okay? Because you've taken it so far yourself, you got comfortable, you got a bit more work to do. I mean, people must be sniffing around going, okay, when you're ready, our doors are open. I mean, that's certainly what we're hearing. So what's the timing?
Yeah. So the mini pilot has fired up. We will continue to run that until we're satisfied. We expect that the end of this year will come to the end of the life of the mini pilot. That would also, this year we see a PFS taking place. When the report does come out in the PEA, many will note that it's really an advanced PEA. We see next year to really focus on DFS, as well as the scale required, to address any of the risks that and uncertainties that arise from our mini pilot operation. So we really think of 2022 as the key year and spill into 2023 for demonstration and DFS. So again, we're really looking at the potential to break ground in 2024 for the initial commercial concentrator on site. So to be really conservative, 2024, 2 years later, you'd be looking at the ability at a minimum to be towards the conclusion stages of running a chemical plant. So you'd be looking at essentially 2026 to be supplying lithium chemicals to the market.
Does that worry you at all, Trevor, in terms of your timing? Because there's a bunch of people maybe 18 months, 24 months ahead of you as it stands. Are you going to be a bit late to the party?
I'm not worried about that at all. I think that we are positioned very, very well. It's kind of like the big snowstorm's coming, Matt. And it's kind of like behind that big tractor trailer or that big semi, we're a couple of vehicles back, and in a big storm, you just hate being right behind that tractor trailer. So we've got a little more visibility of the storm. The market's just turned. We think that others may have some difficulties. We think that being too aggressive at the onset of this market that's just turned is it's a dangerous place to play. At the end of the day, we can't stress that, you need the right asset, the high quality, the low impurities. And again, you have to confidently be able to deliver and come to market. So again, we see our timing as being really good timing for entrance. When we look at the supply deficits in our models, around 2025 plus is when that deficit really kicks in. So we view ourselves as having perfect timing for the market that's in front of us.
So why wouldn't it be easier for you just to supply and sell a chemical grade spodumene concentrate into the marketplace? Why go down the fully integrated route? Surely that just complicates things, doesn't it?
Yeah. So It does. One of the considerations for the PEA is actually building in the phased approach to delivering hydroxide. So, when we talk about breaking ground in 2024 and delivering chemicals towards the end of 2026, that is essentially building a concentrator, running it for a year to 2 years with the ability to sell some of the concentrate and be building the chemical plant while that's taking place. So that is a main consideration of the PEA, which obviously we've got to look at very closely with regards to our PFS work. But you're right. Building essentially $1 billion project is quite difficult. For a multinational to build that. We've seen that it's not easy, and the market typically doesn't love projects of that scale. So no, we have built in a phased approach. We again think that there's very few projects that have the ability to see it right through to building a project of that scale. In order for that to happen, it's a project with, again, really high grades, low impurities, also great location, considering that we're in the Great Lakes region of North America, in close proximity to really the hub of auto manufacturing in North America. So it's a huge advantage. We've seen this phenomenon of the localization, or there's a globalization of local supply chain support. So we have a prime project, Matt.
You do. But
all the boxes.
But you the guys, Trevor, to build it, because it is complicated. Things can go wrong. Yeah. Do you just set yourself up for someone else to kind of step in and finish this thing off for you? Or have you got the guys who can build the chemical plant? Because that's the hard bit, right? I think it's the hardest bit. It's all hard, but that's the hardest bit, right? So
yeah, absolutely. So we've just added on an individual who is VP of technology for the company. He's a Chinese Canadian who had the luxury of being chief scientist for a global lithium producer based out of China. So he's a recent addition to the team in order to address, where we see most of the risks with regards to project execution. So we are the guys. We have the ability to leverage a premier resource to attract from the top talent pool in the world, clearly. So at the end of the day, you're correct. We've built a technology partner again in XPS. We're really, that's the only exposure that a Glencore company has to lithium. So could be a potential partner in the future if required by Frontier in the making there as well. But right now it's really to be focused on bringing the people again. So our recent addition with our VP technology is a prime example of leveraging again to attract the best of the best for what is available out on the market. So we think that there's very few companies and juniors that have the potential that we have. So that's why we're really excited. Our shareholders are extremely excited with regards to this opportunity. We've got the goods, and we've got to deliver. So lots to be done, but we're focused and we're committed on bringing premier lithium hydroxide to the market. The EU is moving aggressively. North America is lagging a little bit behind, but we think that we have better access to the EU market as well. Shorter distances and lower costs to deliver materials to the EU than the Asian the Asian market or Australia. So prime location, great project, low impurities, the right team, the right flow sheet. Might I add, for the PEA, we didn't bring in our patent pending technology. We need to complete the mini pilot work, and that work will support PFS. We will be filing in the final jurisdictions for IP here this spring. So okay. It appears by all measures that we found a very simple method that that can leverage the low carbon grid. It's one of the cleanest electricity grids in the world here in Ontario, and as well really have a recycling component to recycle reagents and acid requirements to deliver a really robust project that is clean, green, and low cost.
Well, I think that's the exciting bit here for you guys, because you want your product traveling the shortest distances, and it seems obviously you've got a captive audience just slightly over the border. There's a big kind of automotive enclave there for sure, and I think OEMs are targeting zero carbon emissions. they're going to have to work with the entire supply chain to do that. Sounds like you're focused on all the right things. I appreciate your time today, Trevor. Please stay in touch. Let us know how you get on with because I think you're still in control of a lot of the moving parts, which is good news. You're not just market dependent. So stay in touch. Let us know how you get on with those. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks so much, man. Real pleasure to speak, and look forward to next conversation and continue to make great progress on the project.